seem interested in them. It's like it's layered. I dig it. Oh, you want to know you want to know my three things before I just start mumbling?
I would love to. Yeah, yeah.
So I like when we first meet George, he's fixing a clock. So he snuck into a place he shouldn't be there. He's all greased up, but I think it shows that he's doing something sort of cavalier by sneaking in there. They don't know he's there, but he's also fixing a clock that hasn't been working in many, 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 many years. It's kind of rock star, but it's also nerdy. And I think it sets up our character pretty well. This is a guy who he's cool with breaking into things, but he does so to fix a clock. It's quite neat. I love that aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like he just wants to fix things. Like that kind of goes back to my character thought of, why are characters not likable in horror films? And it's usually just something that, they have to be hateable for, you to want to watch it. And I don't really get that. And you see this guy like doing a noble thing, like fixing a clock instead of just, I don't know, being at a sleazy strip club and then all of a sudden he runs, it's like he's doing a noble thing. So yeah, I love that.
You just immediately like this guy's fixing a clock. Not a clock, a bell, my apologies. But I guess it's attached to a clock. So, you're right. He's not doing anything grimy. Like, in these movies when you put together a team, there's always someone grimy.
Right.
He's not that. I dig it. All right. So then my second one, I've touched on it briefly, but she stiff arms a demon. Scarlet stiff. And so this demon had just munched on George's neck. Crazy. And she just stiff arms it. It's beautiful. And I remember watching it for the first time, and it was so refreshing. It was just, Scarlet just wiped out that demon, and she kept running. It's just a neat, and then she climbs all the way up the rope, which people have insulted, but, in Hobbs and Shaw, people can grab onto a helicopter and a plane, and their arms don't rip off. But yeah, she climbs up a rope, and people complain. But
why would people complain?
Well, because the one video, he's like, then she climbs up a rope with nothing. Like, she couldn't do that. Someone said it. And this is a video with like 2 million views.
Don't people do that in 7th grade in PE?
Yeah, exactly. It just annoys me. But you know what I like most about this movie is I just never for a second thought that Scarlet would just go full beast mode to save George, go climb up a thing, reverse it, deal with everything, rectify everything, fix everything, then get out of there. It was just cool, man. It just felt very, I know a lot of people died in the movie. I know that it was quite, it's quite bloody and whatever, but it was so refreshing to me. It just, I don't know. I really like that. And and then they live. Like Zed, George, and her live. It's quite nice. I don't know. You just don't see that much, and I dig it. That's what makes me happy. And then also, you already touched on it, but in the beginning, I love when she goes, "They'll have to catch me." Like, I dig that line. Like, I'm taking responsibility, but you got to catch me first. And that comes into play later when she stiff arms people.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's just, I don't know. I dig it. I think it's mischievous. And I mean, you kind of have to be crazy, slightly, not crazy. I hate that word. It gets thrown. You have to be slightly, I don't know the right word, to hunt down the Philosopher's Stone. Like, that's your life. So Clayton, I meet you 30 years from now, and you're just tired, and you have a huge beard, and you're just mumbling about the Philosopher's Stone. I'm like, man, I think Clayton's lost it. Like, it's, I don't know. I like it. I like that too, where, sometimes when a National Treasure or other movies, like, oh, my dad did it and it wrecked his life, so I'm not doing it.
Right.
She's like, my dad was right, and I'm going to fulfill this for him. There's very little there's no unnecessary drama. And I know she left George in Turkey, which seems like something she would do. But you can tell the whole time that George is into it. He just is.
Right. It was the best week of his life.
Yeah. And like, yeah, exactly. But George also has to be annoyed. So, like, if you get left in Turkey by a intrepid explorer and you see them again, you're not going to want to answer their calls for a while, even if you're super into them. You got to make them work for it a little bit. Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
Come on, just a little bit.
Yeah, you can't immediately. Yeah, oh, okay, we're cool. It's fine. My bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it just goes going back to her character motivation, where it's just like she respected her father and she wanted to prove he wasn't crazy. And that's all the motivation you need for seeing her go through all this. So, you know,
Wow.
I don't think there should be any complaining.
Yeah, there's no dad issues like in Indiana Jones. There's no mom issues. It's just,
Right.
And she doesn't really care if people believe her or not.
Right.
It's and I also like the counterbalance too of her when they first meet Papillon when she's like, I'll take half the treasure. She's like, you can have it all. And George goes, half is fine.
Half is fine.
Yeah.
I laughed pretty hard at that.
They're a good double act, but I think it shows she's very impulsive, very reactive.
Yes.
And I mean, that's why they didn't spend months crafting an Ocean's 11 plan, because that would have been unnecessary anyway, because they're going into hell.
Right. Right. It wouldn't have done anything.
Now, random question for you. Why?
Yep.
Okay, that crew had been in those caves before.
Mm-hmm.
Why now are they in this 9 circles of hell? Sorry, that's a pretty...
I don't... You have to either look at it as they're... You know, the cult is trying to open the gates, right?
Yeah.
So that's a possibility. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe? You know, the cult ladies are opening the gates to hell for these people. It's already been set in motion with the lady walking out of the club. So it's already been set in motion. There's something, you know, cosmic about it in general. The devil knows that Scarlet is gonna, you know, seek out Papillon, so he's already, you know, laid out the game plan. So there's a possibility that that's what it is.
That's pretty great. They're singing. They opened it up. They obviously knew it from the wide-eyed woman.
Right.
So they are setting this up. Maybe because they know she's getting close. She found the clue in Iran.
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense to me. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And you're kind of thinking about people getting put in danger. I don't think Scarlett ever once thought, hey, I'm going to take these nice French tour guides into hell.
Right. No.
Yeah.
No, she didn't. You know, we're very pro Scarlett on this podcast, aren't we, Mark?
Well, dude,
I feel like it's safe to say.
I like it. I like how she keeps moving forward. I dig that. It's when she goes to Iran, the guy's like, we gotta go. We gotta go. She's like, yo, come on. I got this. It's fine. And I also, I don't know. And also, a lot of people complain about Benji, but I mean, I'd be pretty annoyed too. His tempers are flaring. He seems to be a hot-headed guy. Right. Papillon is joking with him. So, I mean, I have no issues with him either. And I know he's woefully prepared for this, but no one expected, right, Clayton, that they're going to be going down tunnels into hell. They're not going to be rappelling. Right.
It was never on the radar. I like Zed. I wish I saw Zed a little bit more throughout the movie. And, you know, he survives too. But he's got that funny little De Niro impression. I like that guy too.
And no one can say Zed's dead.
Yeah, no one can say Zed is dead. Oh wow.
That's a deep Tarantino reference.
Yes.
But no, I like him. Yeah, he's very likable. I like in the beginning when they ask him about his hand, he's like, yeah, we don't really talk about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I dig Zed. Zed seems pretty chill. He seems happy to kind of roll with things. I like him.
He's probably the goofy funny guy. Mm-hmm. We got Susie who's very serious, but
the Banshee.
All about Banshee. We got a Pappy is he's tagging all the walls. So yes, he is a arrogant cave diver, but that's it. Like nobody's malicious. None of our main group of heroes are malicious.
Nope. And this is how I know I like a horror movie. It's when I can remember the characters' names. Yeah. And Scarlet, George, Papillon, Zed, the Banshee, I don't know, when there's so many movies I watch where I can't tell you any of the characters' names, or TV shows for that matter. But I think the good ones. I feel the ones you connect with are the ones you can remember people's names on.
Absolutely.
It's an interesting concept. And it's not based on anybody, too. It's not like we're watching Barry Lyndon to make it easy.
Right.
That's a good movie, by the way.
Barry Lyndon.
Yeah.
All right, so I got Romancing the Stone and Barry Lyndon.
Oh, it's Kubrick.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's funny. I love it. It's an epic, just costume drama, but there's some wicked humor in there.
You know what, dude? I always thought I was a cinephile. Maybe I just like movies a lot. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm like I'm a cinephile when I go home Christmas break, hang out with the family. I'm looking forward to these recommendations, Mark.
Well, you spend 17 hours a day on film sets, so it's kind of fine for you, man. I mean, you're not going to watch so many. I do this as a job.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was on those sets, I did not want to go home and watch Barry Lyndon after a long day on set.
Yeah.
So I mean, you've been doing this nonstop since what, 2010?
Yeah, 2011.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're still conscious.
I'm still kind of there. Yeah.
The first time I think, I don't know if we talked, but I remember you were on Walking Dead season 2. That's the first time I ever saw you on a really weird day I had there. So
I'm curious as to what the really weird day was, but yeah, that was when I started first show.
So I was supposed to be, I was PA into, but I got a job as a stand-in on a movie called Jane Mansfield's Car for Ray Stevenson, and I loved it because I got to be around, and then they eventually turned me into a PA on there, and I had a good time on that set for maybe the 30 days it was shooting, 25 days. And so I was really new in the industry. I didn't know anybody. I moved up here. I didn't know anybody, so I just took anything I could. And I was supposed to have a stand-in day on Jane Mansfield's Car, but they messed up, so they felt bad. So like, okay, go stand in on Walking Dead. So I had to drive.
You stood in for Herschel, right?
Yeah, Scott Wilson. And everybody on set is like, what is happening? Like, it was a super serious scene. Like, the kid's injured and everything. And then there's me standing in for Scott Wilson. And I remember just looking at everybody and like, I didn't do this. And then there was a kneeling scene. So I'm like, I can do this. And we all had a laugh. So.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Man.
And I ended up working with him on Comic-Cons for many years, Scott Wilson. Like, that whole crew. I was doing Comic-Cons before Walking Dead. I used to manage the floor of these shows. And Norman Reedus was the Boondock Saints guy. But over the course of about 6 months, he went from having a decent crowd every weekend to just having a massive, massive photo op crowd, putting 2,000 people in seats for panels. Walking Dead just exploded. But it was kind of cool to be on the ground floor watching it get huge. But I just remember just laughing about it. Just like, what are we thinking? I had to stand in for John Hurt one time on Jay Mansfield's Car. And I had to scrouch down to about, I'm like 6'4", so probably you too. So I had to like open my legs as far as possible to shrink down to 5'9".
You're tripping crew and grips.
8 grips.
There's no winning.
Yeah.
Like, you can make yourself taller with an apple box. You can only make yourself so short, but before you become a tripping hazard.
I will say though, my time as a stand-in made it a lot easier to work with stand-ins later on because stand-ins are treated horribly. I mean, second team. And so I remember on a couple of films, I just learned I trained the stand-ins, like, guys, when you hear second team, be there. Like, just don't make them yell twice because then they get furious. So I think that was a good experience for me, just learning. And also I learned not to squat, because your legs burn out. It's to open up your legs to shrink yourself down a little bit. That's what I learned. But yeah, that was my stand-in for you. They had no stand-ins in this movie, though, because they just had like a tiny crew going in there. And I guess Ben, the guy, George, he was claustrophobic. So imagine that.
Oh, wow. That's talk about conquering something. That's awesome.
The only reason I'd want to be an actor, Clayton, if I'd want to be like in a boxing movie, and then I'd want to be in a cycling movie, and then I'd want to be in a sword fighting movie, in an equestrian film. That way I can just pick up all the skills for later on in life. So maybe he took that role to cure Ben Feldman took the role to cure his claustrophobia.
Very true. I thought that you were just like, hey, this will keep me in shape.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah. Oh, I have no phobias of those. I would just do it to stay in shape, like Chris Hemsworth. Oh, you want me to be in a Hulk Hogan film? Yeah, great. Give me some weights.
Somebody cast me to be Wolverine, and maybe I'll actually go on a diet, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because you have to.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's what I would do roles that kept me in shape. But yeah, I don't know if that works. Just let me be in a movie to cure my claustrophobia. I don't think it works like that.
No, I don't think it does, dude. I'd be the fattest Wolverine. It'd be depressing.
You could have the chops though, the mutton chops. I could see you growing those.
I could do that. Yeah. That's about it.
Is there anything else we haven't covered on this film? I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about? Did you have any other notes?
Not specifically. I